I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about planning because I know it's the end of the school year and I'm putting up some videos, but I think that it might help people over the summer as they start to plan their upcoming school year, especially people who just graduated and are about to become teachers. I currently teach a separate classroom, which means all the students that I have disabilities, but they're not in the general ed setting. They are outside of that setting and they are in my class all day, every day. And because of that, I actually teach multi-grade and I teach kindergarten through second grade. And I've realized that a lot of people are always ask me, how do you teach 3 grades at once? Like, what does that look like? How do you prepare that? Well, the main thing is that I have paraprofessionals. I have 3 of them. Now, I have a student that is one-on-one, but I have 3 paraprofessionals in my classroom. And I also teach 3 grades. So I have to plan, I have to be overly organized and over-prepared in order for all of it to be smooth because, yes, all 3 grades receive their grade level curriculum. Now, I have some kids who their work needs to be modified, so they're in second grade, but they're doing kindergarten curriculum. So they've actually been in my class because it's easier for them to be paired with other kindergarteners that have different needs. They end up being kind of the same level. I have some kids who are in younger grades but are doing really, really high level work, about 3rd grade work. So I try to organize it and try to keep it all nice and neat. Now, I do have paraprofessionals. They teach my small groups for me. So usually during the academic time, you'll see a bunch of groups going on in my class because I might be teaching a kindergarten group, one paraprofessional teaching a 1st grade group, one's teaching a 2nd grade group, and one's teaching a group for kids who just need help at a slower pace. So we all tend to separate and teach our little groups, then come back together. I teach social studies and science as a whole group. Actually, I found that was been kind of fun because we can do more project-based learning. But I write all my plans on one page. Now, before I start anything else, my school uses a certain type of curriculum, and we all are supposed to follow that curriculum. Now, it's hard. You can modify it. You can slow it down, anything you want for a kid on an IEP with a disability, but I still follow the curriculum, and it's actually super helpful because it lays out week by week by week exactly what I should teach. And so it makes my plans when I write them out, it makes them nice and organized. I write a space for the kindergarten work, the 1st grade work, and the 2nd grade work, and it's organized by all the times of the day so that if I were to have a meeting, if I were to be out, if I were to have a behavior and not be able to teach my group, it's very clear and organized as to what exactly I'm teaching. Now, let me show you something really quick. I'm in my classroom. So I'm going to show you exactly what my plans look like in my plan book, but I also want to show you, so this is an example of the curriculum that we use for math. We're using math expressions, Houghton Mifflin. So this is the teacher book. So in my plans, you'll see that sometimes I wrote T in front of it, so the page numbers correspond to the teacher pages, which go through exactly what lesson it is, exactly what materials you're going to need, the vocabulary you're working on, and it also shows you what the student, this is hard to turn looking at this angle, exactly what the student page is going to look like. This is kind of overexposed. And then this is the student book, and it corresponds with the teacher book. So if I'm looking at teacher page and it tells me to go to student page 207, that day they're working on student page 207. So it matches up, and we usually do a nice little group lesson first, and then we'll do the activity page at the end of the math group. And that's kind of how it works for all of the subjects. Science and social studies is a little easier. There is a book, but I find that finding things on Teachers Pay Teachers, finding group activities, groups, project-based learning works much better for my kids with disabilities and sensory needs. So I'm going to flip the camera and I'm going to show you exactly my setup and what I would do to plan and kind of how I organize it.
All right, so this all kind of looks like a lot,
but most of it I use as reference for when I go to plan. So this seems really extra, but this is kind of like my teacher planner that I use to kind of brainstorm ideas. And then this is like my Erin Condren that I actually put my plans in. Now, I have paraprofessionals, so I do have to make copies of all my plans, and I have to write out who does what, because sometimes I'm in meetings or they're taking other students, they're taking a small group, and they need to be able to know exactly what's going to work. Now, I did make this cover. I printed off like Mean Girls, the burn book, and I made little holes to make it work with my Erin Condren. And then, this one does not want to move over. Okay, now this is me. This is from last year, and I just loved the way it looked that I literally took it off of last year's planner and put it back on this year's planner, which I haven't even begun with this planner yet. So it's kind of sad because I haven't even started using it, but this one is going to be my 2019-2020 teacher planner, but I just want to show you my other one is basically like destroyed from this past school year. So I just wanted to show you this one, and I'm excited to start using it. I'm actually teaching ESY, so I'm going to start using it in July and then start using it again in September. So I usually put my final plans in here just to make them look pretty and nice because I'm extra like that. But for the purpose of this video, this is the main one. Now, I bought this at Staples. I buy a new one every year at Staples. They cost like $10, and they're very, very basic. Now, I just want to show you. Let me take this off. So, this is kind of what they look like. Just blank pages. See up top it says subject, it says notes for next week, which I don't even use. I actually use this more for the subject description. Then it goes by day: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it gives me a lot of blank space. So this is like the one I use to brainstorm all my ideas off of. Now, really quick, God, I'm losing my breath. I want to show you, I keep this behind my desk, and I currently teach kindergarten through 2nd grade. The teacher who taught the year before me actually let me copy all of her plans, and so she had actually used a book like this, and I just loved how clear it was and how concise it was. So I actually just copied her whole plan book so that I at least had something to go off of. And what I loved about what she did was she would write the grade. She would write 1, 2, and then she would list what they were going to do. So if it was a 1st grader, you knew exactly what to do. If it was a 2nd grader, you knew exactly what to do. And this was for the start of the school year, and then it goes deeper into the actual school year. But I really loved how she organized this, and I felt like it was really clear and concise. Now, at my district, we do use curriculum that we do have to follow. So if a kid has a disability, they still kind of need to do some sort of that curriculum, even if it's modified. But I actually don't mind having curriculum that they give you because it lays it all out for you so clearly that I can tell my paraprofessionals exactly what to do on the exact day. They can take out the book, they can follow a piece of it. And if it's a kid with a disability, you just do a smaller piece of the academics and it works just the same. So anyway, I made a whole copy of all of her work and everything that she had done the year before. And then that way I just had it as reference. Any extra materials I keep in here. This is, oh my God, I can't even get this sucker to go over. What the heck? Come on. This is literally my headband. This is what's happening for next year for my 2019-2020 book. I just bought a new one and I kind of started setting it up. Here we go. This looks like so much written down, but it is extremely organized. So this was towards the beginning of the school year. We were only in like maybe the 3rd week of school, and we were on lesson 2. So from the morning, from 9, or at this point I was doing 9 to 9:30, but I switched it to 9:20 because my kids couldn't handle that. And for the kindergarten book, for their math work, this is what they had. First graders, they had 2 pages of work, and second graders, they had these 2 pages. Now, when they came into the room at 9 a.m., these pages were already on their desk. Sometimes I have meetings in the morning, so I'll need my paraprofessionals to put out the work for me, so that way they know exactly what they're going to put out. I also actually keep my morning work paper clipped by kid in a certain drawer, and so they know exactly what to put out, but just in case, it's on the plan. And then we got to math group from 10 to 10:30. These are the teacher book pages, okay? So that's why there's a T in front of it. So the teacher book is open, and then these are the activity pages that correspond in the student booklet. So, for example, in first grade, the teacher needed to open up, or the paraprofessional, whoever was teaching that small group, needed to open up to page 33 through 38, and then the student's corresponding page was page 17 in their book. So usually what it is first the teacher will go through whatever that lesson is. They might use a whiteboard, they might do some examples, they might use some manipulatives, and then towards the end of this 30-minute block, they're going to take out the student activity page, and they're going to work through that page with those students. Now, a group might only be 2 kids, because it might be 2 first graders that are working at a slower pace, and they need this help. Same goes for my ELA group. They break up again. It tells you what the teacher page is, and I think it was that day, on Mondays is usually the spelling pre-test. And then the grammar, again, they had these transparency pages. This day they had a grammar page, and then this corresponds with the story that's read in the teacher book. So it's all clearly labeled out. Now, my paraprofessionals are so good, so smart, so advanced that they kind of can just look at this page and go from there. They don't even need me to write this is the story name, this is what you need to do. They already know. They see this, they go, I know how to differentiate for these 2 kids. I make all my paraprofessionals read the IEPs, read all the accommodations, so they're fully prepared. An example. Okay. This week, I guess, we were talking about presidents. So I actually did it with a whole group, because sometimes I found that the kindergartners and the first and the second graders, they all had really good ideas. They wanted to talk about it together. Now, this was me teaching this lesson, so I didn't write anything in detail, but usually it involves doing some sort of visual activity, watching a YouTube video, kind of having a nice whole group discussion on the presidents. But see, this week I labeled it mostly the same. This was the week that my second graders went back to their second grade classroom. So then for about 2 months, I was only teaching kindergarten and first grade, which was kind of nice. So I hope this is helpful. Thanks.